All right, well, I think we'll just go ahead and get started. Hello,
Yeah.
Polo. So we'll just kind of start by just briefly introducing ourselves, just kind of talking about our setups. Yeah, and then really just jump right into just hanging out, ask any questions, or just call us idiots if you want. That works too. Well, my name is Ryan, Northwest Nano. Behind me is my my 24-gallon water box cube. You've probably all seen the pictures because they all pretty much look the same. Yeah, blue light boys. That's right. Yeah, James. All right. Pretty simple setup. I mean, mostly SPS dominant. 18 by 18 cube. It does have a 14-gallon sump underneath. Yeah, I run my big old Radeon, my XR30 Gen 5 Blue, which has been working wonderfully for me. I got my two MP10s in the back just hanging out. They'd probably serve my tank much better if I actually put them on the sides of the tank, but you know, it looks pretty back there, so I don't change it. It's working for me, so I'm just going to go ahead and leave it. Let's see. I know you guys know Brandon there. You can see his tank back there. It's Florida Reef Keeper. Why don't you tell him a little bit about your setup?
Hey, everybody. So, like Ryan said, my name is Brandon. And so behind me is my terribly blown out SPS Dominant 40 Cube, Innovative Marine. I unfortunately do not have a sump underneath there. Everything is in the back, which makes it a pain to maintenance. But so I run T5s, so a little bit different than most people, I think. ATI SunPower 6 bulb, along with a new Reef Bright strip. I added the Lumilight Pro on there just for a little bit of extra pop at night. But I run mostly white lights. So I actually do have the old-fashioned 6500 Kelvin T5 bulb in there, nice yellow, to help bring out some of those pinks and purples. Aside from that, it's about 2.5 years old now. I run MP40s on there, which is getting to the point where it's starting to peel some flesh off the corals, just because I have to keep them cranked up so high.
No such thing as too much flow, right? Isn't
Right?
that
Yeah.
what they say?
Yep. And for those of you who do not know, I just recently ripped out my zoanthid rock to put in 3 new acros. So I'm very, very proud of those. I got
Good
the
call.
Oregon Tort, right? I know, which is one of my coveted acros. And then my PC Rainbow is going gangbusters. It's put out branches that people would call frags and sell in a month. So I'm happy with that one. So that's my tank.
I'm going to jump in here real fast with this question from Tino Reef. How did I add a sump to the water box? This is actually a legacy model that unfortunately they don't make anymore. It was one of their first ones that came set up. So it was called like the Water Box Reef Platinum 40.1 gallon. And that's with the 24 and 14. So really 38, but you know, the bigger numbers, people like those better. I'm kind of sad they don't make it because there's not really too many setups in this range that actually have a sump and everything pre-plumbed and everything. So yeah, it's a shame that they're not there. Maybe they'll bring it back at some point, but kind of looks like they're going the way of bigger is better, which is not a bad thing. So, all right, awesome, Brandon. Let's see. We'll save our resident softy lover, Blaine at King Tide Corals. We'll let him go last, but we'll jump in with David here at Reef Club Design. Beautiful tank, beautiful eyebrows. Go
Thank
for
you.
it.
I work really hard on those. I work harder on my eyebrows than I do on my tank, and it probably shows. They're a little bit higher maintenance, but it's worth it. Yeah, so Reef Club, you can see my tank, which is all blue and stuff, all drop little filter, you know, LEDs, what can I say? SPS dominant, kind of by chance, kind of by force. I lost most of my LPS, and I just feel like SPS speak to me in a way that I can, you know, they're just easier to me. I have more luck with SPS than with mushrooms, so I just stick with what works and not take any chances on anything else. So, and I just love Acropora. So this is my 25-ish gallon custom super ghetto reef with my mismatched BioCube stand, my 2x4 light hanger because I have a 20-pound light hanging above it. Yeah, so not much more than that. And somebody asked who has the best tank, and I always think that everybody's tank is better than mine, and that's like why I talk to you guys. I always try to learn from other people's success. Brandon's tank is insane. When you told me that was an all-in-one 40-gallon, I was like blown away. I was like, man, I suck really bad. If you can do that in an all-in-one tank.
David's being really modest, but you look at those shots of his top rack, at those like high-end SPS that in any other tank would probably have killed each other like 10 times over. He's got great colors, great growth. It looks awesome. Let's see. I'm going to respond to Cinder here real quick. Look, okay. In my head, the 40 gallons is the cutoff for a Nano. Now, in fairness,
that's right.
In fairness, I think I have about 30 gallons of water volume because I keep my sump pretty low. But my challenge is in the small space, so I proudly call myself a Nano tank still.
No, absolutely. Not that I've been like continuously reefing for 20 years, but I've been like into the hobby off and on for 20 years, I would say. And it used to be anything 50 gallons or less was a Nano. So even though I'm upgrading to a 50-gallon, I'm still going to be Nano.
A Nano.
There we go. Yeah. There we go.
Yeah.
All right.
So
Last but not least, we are, like I said, a resident softy owner who I think throughout these themes we're going to convince to becoming a stickhead. And that's Blaine at King Tide Corals. Also has a YouTube channel with a phenomenal tank tour series he just did of my tank.
So I appreciate the plug of the channel. So my name's Blaine. I go by King Tide Corals. You can call me Blaine, whatever. So I am the soft coral guy of this group. Everyone here, if you look at all three of the other Brady bunch, are the SPS lovers. But I am the one softy head that's going to keep you level-headed and remind you that a natural tank with some soft corals is good as well. I run a Innovative Marine 25 Lagoon. It's powered by a Kessel AP9X. It's basically a soft coral dominant system. I've been given baby frags of SPS, and I do have some LPS. I have a Duncan Colony, and then the clams, but mainly softies is my jam, and so that's what I've been doing. I've been reefing basically same thing on and off for about 19, almost 20 years, and I've been doing a YouTube channel now for the past about a year or so. If you guys are interested, check it out. Links in my bio on my Instagram profile. But yeah, that's basically it. And the four of us together are the Nano Tank Boyz. We've kind of come to that conclusion that
with a Z because we're edgy.
With a Z because we're going on tour and we are also an entertainment. But so basically, guys, we just wanted to bring the four of us together because we're all different reefers in our own special way. And we all have different things that we can bring to the hobby. Everyone has their own favorite things and different ways of doing things. We kind of wanted to start this group here so we could kind of, talk shop and then talk tanks with you guys, the guys that follow us, guys and gals that follow us, and basically just shoot it around with the corals.
Awesome. So really, I mean, now you've heard enough about us. I do like, that suggestion about having different topics for these. If people like these and people stay throughout them and they hang out, I mean, hell, if we get 5 people that stick around the whole time that we're babbling, we'll keep doing this. But right now, we just kind of want to do like the introduction and then just kind of throw it right to the questions. And there's already some awesome ones. If I miss your question, just re-ask it because I'm just like trying to watch them all come in on my computer.
So I saw a really good one from Blend Reef, and it says, "What do y'all think is the biggest reason for your nano tank success?" And I think when you talk about nanos, you talk about a lot smaller water volume, and you have a lot more opportunity for parameter swings and things to change. So I think that's a really good question, and I think Ryan should start with that one.
Okay. I mean, biggest success in the Nano Reef tank. This is definitely going to be like a do as I say, not as I do, which I definitely try and do it to a degree, which is consistency all the time. And to keep that consistency, what has worked for me is I log and track everything that I do. I just have an Excel spreadsheet from when I started this tank 3 years ago. And it looks insane now at this point because, I mean, anything I put in, I have like the milliliters of how much, but that lets me know. So when I have something going on, like right now, my Zoas are mostly piecing out and melting away. I can, they're getting better. I can look back and say, okay, well, I know when this started, what did I do around this time? And I can look up, like, okay, I started adding this, or I changed this. I put my maintenance routine stuff on that spreadsheet. Like, I did my 5-gallon water change, or I changed the carbon, and I put in how much of everything I did. So I can look back and kind of see what changed. And then the second big part to that consistency, of course, I'll throw out the word stability. I'll put it out there because that's the golden word. But if I see these changes, I try not to do any changes drastically. I do everything slowly. If I were to, look at my melting zoas and say, oh crap, let me bring down the salinity, because I maybe read on a forum that lower salinity works, or, let me put down the lighting setting because maybe the light's too high. Well, now I'm going to piss everything off in my tank and probably not fix the problem. So stability, track everything you do, do that log and really just kind of go slow. Don't make any sudden changes. Corals are very adaptive creatures, but they absolutely will die and hate you if you try and make a lot of fast changes. So that's mine. That was multiple points, but I'll count that as one. I do want to let other people talk, but see, Excel, very powerful. Here's one I definitely want to throw at Brandon for a second, which is coming from Underwater Kush 21. Which is opinion on all-in-one systems versus some. I mean, I think obviously look at the different tanks here, and there is no right answer. I mean, you can be very successful with either one, as evidenced by not just our tanks, but all of the various tanks out there on Instagram, Facebook. But Brandon, what's been your success with the all-in-one?
Well, I mean, if I can be honest with everybody here, if you can get a sump, get a sump. I mean, 100%.
I appreciate you, Brandon.
All right, moving on.
I gotta be honest with everybody. I mean, I went through my fair share of challenges with this tank to get it to where I want to be, and luckily I've been doing this long enough to know what I want and how I need to get there. But I mean, I wish I could have like a real algae scrubber. I want like 10 gallons worth of Kato in the bottom. I want a real protein skimmer, not the little ones that you got to stick in the back compartments and all that. I want those things. It really makes maintenance a lot easier. But if your space only allows an all-in-one, just give yourself a plan moving forward. So obviously, like with my tank, I took out the filter socks because for me, a filter sock's not going to do anything compared to what a ball of Kato is going to do and what the protein skimmer is going to do.
Right.
So I got the biggest protein skimmer that I could fit in the back compartments, and I got one of the innovative marine lights to stick on that peeled off the back plastic and stuck that up against the Kato. So that grows double every week. Coral booster. Oh my God, blue bottles.
That's for Lennon there asking about amino acids. I dose that every other day. Does it help? I don't know, but I keep doing and throwing money at them. So
I love Casey for the
money
record.
grows corals. That's right. But no, aside from that, I think all-in-ones can be really successful. Obviously, I've had a lot of success with this, but you really got to plan ahead knowing what you're getting into. You don't have that extra water volume, so right now I might have 25 gallons of water in the tank with all the coral growth. It's a 40-gallon tank, so if I had 10 gallons beneath, that gives me a huge yes, exactly.
You're limited to space. I mean, I
exactly.
have everything jammed in the back. I have a skimmer, I have my top off, I have my, all my tubes, and I have all my probes, and then I have filter floss on top of it. I know exactly what you mean.
Yeah, and
I think it's two. I think it's 2-2. I think we have 2 sumps and 2 all-in-ones. And I will say I've had an all-in-one forever, and I think for beginners, it's a perfect tank. I think sometimes the sump scares people, I think, in a way, because you see all this like plumbing, you see a bunch of extra things added to a tank, like more, just more mechanical stuff, more pumps and all that stuff. And I think a lot of, beginners get turned off by that because they're like, I'm not a chemist, I don't know what I'm doing, kind of thing, like all 4 of us, we don't know how to do math.
Hey, I can do math.
I definitely don't know how to do math. Here's another great question here that I again kind of want to throw it to Brandon. And it's again from a Nano Reef, which is what do you run in the all-in-one chambers? And I know Brandon actually has like a little mini refugium in there. So could you just kind of explain like how you set that up? I mean, that's a pretty cool thing to have that all in one.
Yeah, so in the back of this tank, there's got 2 overflows that go right into the back, and that's where the filter socks were. So they both came out. And then on one side, I have the Tunzi, or I don't even know how to pronounce it. Tunzi.
The tunes.
We'll take a poll.
The Comline skimmer. So I got the biggest one that I could physically stick in that one back compartment. And then on the other side is where I've got the Kato. And so Innovative Marine sells a refugium light, and it adheres to the back of the tank. So all I had to do was take a razor blade and like peel off that back plastic part just in that section. I attached it on there, and so I have basically the entire compartment the size of the filter sock growing the Kato through there. And then it just kind of goes through. I have some carbon that I run through there, and then the pumps down there in the middle. So pretty simple system, but I've got, proteins on one side, I've got, nitrates and phosphates on the other, and then that's it.
Awesome. I kind of see a fun question here, which is what's one fish or invert that you really want but is too big for your tank? So I guess,
Just one?
Yeah, just I mean, there's tons, right? There's hundreds out there.
All of them.
But yeah, there you go. That's a good answer. I would say my number one is probably the Ick Magnet King, which is, I absolutely love powdered blue tangs. I think they're just the most gorgeous fish out there.
Beautiful
they're
fish.
Utilitarian. They help your tank. They eat the algae. I love them. When I upgrade my tank, I will take the risk. I'll go through the quarantine I don't care. I will have one. It can be the only fish in there, and I'll give it a really comfortable home. That's mine. How about you, David?
Yeah, all of them. There's certain fish that I've accepted I'll never own, no matter how big of a tank, like Morse idols. So I got to tattoo of them instead because I'll never take the chance.
Easier to take care of.
Yeah. But to me, so it kind of brings up like the tank police thing, right? And like having fish that are too big for your tank. And, I feel like there's been a shift in the last couple of years. I don't know if maybe it's just an Instagram thing where like people are a little bit more edgy about it and like pushing the boundaries. I'm definitely one of those people. So my new tank will have some fish that are way too big for it, but at the same time,
we're already doing it.
Yeah. I encourage Ryan to get the leopard wrasse. I was like, dude, just do it. Trust me, he's gonna be fine. Just get it. But I'll have a borb in there and a yellow tank. But I am blessed to have a lot of friends in the hobby with big tanks. So when I know that they're just overgrowing, because they're small now, but when they're too big, then I can just pass them along.
Find a bigger and better home. Exactly.
Yeah, exactly.
Having a plan. It's always having a plan.
Yeah, so I don't feel guilty about it. I think if you know what you're doing and if you know fish behavior and you can recognize those signs of stress, which they definitely display signs of stress. For sure. So fish that I wouldn't even say it's too big. I would say fish that I'm not comfortable taking the risk on just because of the success rate is like a copper band butterfly fish. That would be because it's just it eats aptasia.
Telegram has his, and he feeds it blackworms, and he gets it to eat blackworms. Really, like
peppermint shrimp, David.
No,
all right, Blaine, how about you? What's your?
I think if I had to choose like an invert or fish, I know people have been saying fish. I'm going to go with an invert. One that I think that I don't really want to deal with the upkeep of, but I would love to have is a pair of harlequin shrimp. It's the feeding. I think it's the feeding that really gets to me personally. Like the lopping of the chocolate chip starfish it's like you're giving what is it called? You're giving it an offering basically to them, like a leg.
A sacrifice.
Sacrifice. What, Blaine? Your wife's not going to let you keep a frozen chocolate chip starfish in the freezer?
Exactly. Right.
Right next to the popsicle.
It's more food. Exactly. It's more.
That's where I keep my chocolate chip starfish. I don't know about you guys.
All right, that's an interesting one. Harlequin shrimp. Yeah.
I think that would be a pair of them though. I'd like a pair.
They're gorgeous, and they will eat those starfish like there's no tomorrow.
Oh yeah, I mean, I know people that'll, people have them, right, and then they just reintroduce the Astrenia or Astrena, starfish to their tank. They'll reintroduce them so that they'll have something to actively hunt, and then supplement them with with the chocolate chip star.
Yeah, definitely. Brandon, how about you? What's your dream big fish or invert?
I'm terrible at favorites, so I'm just going to give one that kind of jumps out at the top of my head here right now. Is I really want an Achilles tang.
Nice.
I think that they are just incredible fish, and I don't know. I personally wouldn't want to keep, an expensive fish like that in anything under like a 300-gallon tank. So I'll probably never have it because I don't think I'm ever going to have a 300-gallon tank. But that would be one that I would really like.
Nice. Let's see. I don't know what Blaine's doing. He went blank on us. Maybe he dropped his phone in the tank. Here's a good question here from Reef. What should I take note of new started a 60-centimeter cube tank? Being in America, someone does know centimeters. I assume that's like 12 feet.
Yeah, the math guy.
It's actually 20 feet. It's 20 feet.
It's a short
to inches conversions. Yeah.
I'm going to say for anyone who does a cube, just because, I know David and I have these cubes, the aquascape. I don't know what kind of corals you're planning to do, but I feel like collectively that may be our number one. What would you change most?
Yeah.
Really think ahead when you do your aquascape about what your end game corals are going to be. A lot of people, myself included, fall into the trap of wanting to have like an aesthetically pleasing tank when it's only rock. And that looks good, but generally to get that, what you've done is you've brought the rockscape up really high or really close to the sides, or it's just, when you look from the side, it's a vertical column basically. And that's not going to do so well when you have these, SPS corals that now basically only have 6 inches before they reach the water line. Me. Or when those colonies start growing out, and now all of that bottom area in that vertical column is pretty much useless. Also, me. So kind of really think ahead about that. I wish I had done a much more minimalist rockscape and just let the corals mature and kind of grow into being what made it look good, instead of saying, I want to look good off the bat, I'll add corals in later. That's what I would say with the cube, was figuring the aquascape. The flow is a whole nother beast. Good luck. If you figure it out, message me. But that's my advice. David, how about you? You have a very successful cube back there.
Flow has been the hardest thing. So I definitely should have gone with a shorter scape. Which the new tank will have a very short scape. I think it peaks at 13 inches, and the tank is 20 inches tall. So I figured with sand, with the water line, it's like perfect. But flow has been the hardest thing, and I've had to adjust it all the time because as corals grow in, it's constantly, it's evolving. I have 2 Vortec MP10s and 2 CJ XDC, whatever their wireless is. So like in theory, I have a ton of flow. I have a 730-gallon return pump. In theory, I have a ton of flow, but there's just so much rock and so much biomass that it's like a struggle to get flow everywhere and in the right way, because some corals are just getting pounded and it literally will rip the tissue. I know we say about SPS, give them as much flow. There isn't such a thing as too much flow. There definitely is. It will definitely rip the tissue right off their bones. I know for a fact. So if you're going to do a cube, like Ryan said, if you figure out flow, message me, because I would really like to copy your schedule. That's all I got.
Or whatever you do what Blend Reef does. Talk about packing as much as you can into a tiny tank.
And it's so cool to always see that tank when he sets up all of his photography, and then he takes a picture of that, and you're like, you are a mastermind. He is an absolute...
The camera is the size of the fish tank.
The lens is bigger than the tank. And that's what... Glenn is the one asking about what's the secret to nano success, and I'm like, I don't know. You tell me. I've been asking you this same question for years. What is the secret? When you
So I have one question here that I'm just going to jump in real fast, just because I literally just set one of these up again, which is from Lively John. Great name. Do you guys ever run UV in a nano? Overrated based on your success? Yes. I will be the first person to jump in line if I see a hint of dinos, popping up, I will slap a UV on that. Luckily, the tank behind me has never really had a dino issue. At least nothing that really took over. When I set up the 20-gallon Nuvo, that one got dinos pretty bad early on. And I slapped, it's an Innovative Marine 20. I slapped in one of those little what are they called? Aqua gadgets, where you take out like the filter chamber, you pop one of those in.
Yeah.
Within 48 hours, it was 75% of it was gone. And I can't argue with those results. So I'm not going to say if you slap on a UV, you're going to get rid of your dinos. But I will say I think it's definitely a phenomenal tool to utilize. Once the dyno's cleared up and I kind of left it running, and I was running 24/7 for about probably a month. And now I still have it in there, but I don't have it running. Inland Mermaid, I was just using the little like aqua gadget one.
That's the same one that I used, Ryan, and it slips. I have one that's from Innovative Marine, and it slips directly into into the back chamber. And I'll say for UV, I will say one thing is that there's a good thing about UV, but then also there's the bad thing about UV, where you can take away beneficial bacteria. You can kill off beneficial bacteria with too much UV. And so I think, like you said, you see a problem, and I think dinos is one of those problems where you could just try throwing a UV at it, and if it works, it's great. If you have the right species, but you need to, not throw the UV for too long, because I noticed in my soft coral tank that if I ran the UV too much, that they didn't really like it because I don't think enough beneficial bacteria was hanging out in there. But I also run bare bottom, so that limits my amount of surface area for beneficial bacteria. So
yeah, and I do see just kind of the comment here from Lennon Mass Lunches. I tried UV for dino, but it didn't work because it didn't go into the water column at night. I'll defer this one to Brandon because he's actually a microbiologist. I'm not familiar with different strands of dinos. It may not be dinos in that case, but I would probably suggest the UV with any kind of manual removal and trying to blast as much as you can off the rocks, hopefully get into the water column. Again, I'm no dino expert. I'm going to just kind of let Brandon speak on that, kind of maybe give you a game plan here. What do you think, Brandon?
Well, I take a little bit of a different approach when it comes to the dinoflagellates. So I am a big proponent of diversity in the tank. So funnily enough, this is the only tank in my entire reefing career that's ever had them. And I really attribute that to a dry rock start. I've never done that in the past. This is my first dry rock tank. But what I think happens when it comes to dinoflagellates is the ones that we get in our tanks, at least, they are very opportunistic. They don't tend to show up when everything is super healthy and there is, lots of other competing organisms. And so I think one of the best things you could do, and when I had the problem here, is I hit it with everything. I got live copepods, live amphipods, live phytoplankton, live rock, bacterial cultures. You can get these little cryptic sponges on certain rocks, and that all just brings in competition. And I think it's the competition that'll really help
throw
push
the book
them out.
at them, right?
Throw the book
at them.
And he's exactly right. That is actually exactly what I did with the Nuvo when I added that. I got the copepods from Algebra, and I think I was dosing I don't want to say the wrong company, Seachem Fuel, whoever makes fuel, or not fuel, a seed. I was just putting in bacteria, I was putting in copepods with the UV. I was just hitting it from all sides, and it seemed to work for me.
For sure.
Let's see what we got.
I saw a really good one. It was if you could have a species-only tank, what would it be and why? And I know for me, I already know right off the go. I've dipped into this macroalgae world, this display macroalgae tanks, and I am absolutely in love with it. I know.
Tiger Boy shout out.
Look him up. Tiger Boy. I'm gonna tell you that guy is a wizard, and it's really cool knowing that he lives up by me and we've chatted. He's helped me out a ton with my tank, but I would really like to do a longer, shorter tank with only like seagrass, maybe ulva, and do a pair of pipefish. And do just a lot of seagrass, a ton of macroalgae, and then just do a single pair of pipefish and then have them just hanging out in there. That would be my species-only tank, I think I'd do.
Nice. Mine would absolutely be, and it will be, I will have this tank. I want to do just an all-anemone Colorado sunburst tank, just because I love them. My Nuvo is my current anemone tank, and I use the air quotes because there's about a rack with a dozen SPS, and now they're making it onto the rocks. I'm not a fan of mixing anemones. I've never had good success with that. To each their own. God bless you if you can make it work. But definitely anemones. And those CSBs, oh my God, they're gorgeous. How about you guys? David, Brandon?
Mine would be a Walt Disney only tank. It would just be, it would just be all Walt Disney, different par zones. So people would be like, oh, you can't grow pink Walt Disneys in less than 500 par. They're like, yes, you can, and I'll prove it.
Hey, I'm getting there. I got 3 Walt Disneys on the rack here.
Yeah, I have several pieces of Walt Disney, all from the same original colony, and they're all different colors. And I don't have more than 300 par anywhere in my tank. So, but no, I love Acropora, and it's, you know, I am going to be pretty much, I am right now, Acropora dominant, and the new tank will be Acropora dominant. It'll always be Acropora. It's fun to do other stuff and have like a tank with just mushrooms. Because I love all coral. Don't get me wrong. I even like the boneless coral.
Take it easy on us, Softy guys.
I like the boneless coral, but
come on, man. Jeez.
I love Acropora, so it'll always be Acropora for sure.
Brandon?
Yeah, I'm also an acro guy. So if I had to pick just one particular species of acro, I would probably just do a tank of Bali Green Slimer.
And nice, that's awesome.
Do my best to get like an actual shoal of chromies in there.
A legit shoal.
Swim. Yep, just have them swim throughout it.
Not a murderous shoal.
Yep. So.
Awesome. Let's see. Someone just kind of asked your opinions on Vibrant. I don't know.
I like.
I've used it once before. It will absolutely work on bubble algae if you go through the whole regiment. I have never been brave enough to get through that because I usually see my SPS responding really poorly. The time I tried it, I started seeing that STN from the face up. A lot of people will say, oh, well, you got to watch your nutrients because the bacteria is eating your nutrients, they plummet, and that's why it happens. But that's not necessarily true because the second time I did it, I was dosing nitrates with it. I was testing like every day. I still had that issue. But go on the forums, you'll find plenty of people who say they've had success, no issues with it. So I'm going to chalk this up to every tank is different. If you are able to use it and it works well and you don't have losses, awesome. You've got a now great tool in your arsenal for fighting those annoying algae. It just has not worked for me.
I like the natural stuff. I like going as close as I can do and an all-natural cleanup of a tank is what I'm going to try to do. I try to minimize the amount of chemicals that I introduce to a tank. And at some points, you just look at a pest and you allow it and you leave it to be. Because here's my deal. Hey, I'm like inappropriate reefer. I have the single Aptasia, right? And it's my bob. And it sits in the back of the all-in-one chamber, and I don't touch it. I refuse to touch it because I don't want it to spread or do anything. And so just leave it be. But I mean, chemical vibrant wise, I'm going to try to do everything possible to get a natural cleanup, like, do the emerald crabs and do everything possible to go natural.
I'm going to jump in here real quick at that QM Reef. I don't know if he's trolling right now or trying to become the next Reef to Reef cover story.
He recovers dead corals in 4 weeks.
That's right.
From complete bone to
you see the stuff at Pottery Barn? I can put that in my tank. I can make that come back to life. I can guarantee it.
Yeah, if you guys learn anything here today, just please do not believe that story.
That's actually why we're here. That's the real reason.
Public service announcement.
That was the most bullshit post I've ever seen. And I literally told the guy, I was like, listen, if you actually recovered that coral from complete death to growth in 4 weeks, I will buy your water. If you make a book, I will buy your book. That is the most impressive thing I've ever seen in the history of reefing.
I want a movie too.
Yeah,
right?
and people would pay to see that movie. They'd be like, I don't know anything about corals, but that is like a zombie coral.
It's like the
octopus
octopus teacher. Everybody watches the octopus teacher. Nobody knows anything about cephalopods until now.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So let's see. For those of you who are still sitting in, 44 minutes in, I kind of want to just get your opinion on this. So the reason we did this live stream is because, most of us throughout the day get all of us get different questions from people. Or different comments on our posts, asking questions, and unfortunately, sometimes they go missed, and we feel guilty, or we have people who ask very similar questions, and we know that there's a large number of people who have the same questions. So we thought, well, okay, what if we just did a live stream? People could join in if they want to, ask those questions. You know, we try and get those all answered, and just kind of hopefully have this conversation, get to have people giving us their experiences, information, just kind of continue to grow this really fun community that we have. If this is something that you guys enjoy, I mean, it's something that we've talked about just doing weekly or bi-weekly, just to kind of hang out. I mean, very casual, very relaxed, no obligation, you know, to show up to them all. We'll be talking if it's just the four of us. We don't care. But if that's something you like, if that's something you would like to have us keep doing, please feel free to DM any of us like different topic ideas, and we can just maybe start narrowing it down to different discussions each time we come on. So it's not just kind of, you know, free balling and picking random questions. I don't know. I had a lot of fun here tonight. I mean, I think we plan on going for an hour. We're 15 minutes left, you know, and when we're down to just continue chatting. But yeah, if you like this, please send us a message. Give us some topics that you'd like us to talk about. I wish we could have more than 4 screens so we can invite people on, you know, like to talk about their tanks more instead of just me scrolling through these questions, hoping I don't miss people. And if we did miss your questions, I know we did. We missed a lot. Please DM us. I know everyone here really enjoys and appreciates all the questions and comments we get from people. We love having these conversations. I mean, the 4 of us met through DMs. You know, David just kept DMing me weird photos of his feet, and finally
I still do. To this day, I still do it.
Clubhouse is great, and I actually had my first experience with that about a week ago with some awesome people. It is only for iOS right now. Sorry, Android folks. So that's why we just kind of found this would just kind of be more inclusive to everybody. But Clubhouse is definitely awesome. Yeah, Dave DMs everyone weird photos. Yeah, that's true. That's true.
I'm typing a response. So I have an idea, right? So we were talking about some of the maxes for and like bringing other people on. We could bring like a reality TV element, and every week it's like Survivor. Somebody gets voted off.
Nice. There we go. Now we're talking.
And then somebody else replaces him.
Bring Jeff Probst in, and he can, you know, snuff our torches. There we go.
You know, I'll just have Blaine come over. I'll go over there. We'll just be in the same, and then we have a free one open since we're close.
Yeah, there you go.
We'll figure it out. When Blaine gets kicked out of his house for having frozen starfish, he can move in with one of us. So
perfect.
It'll work out well.
I want to call out a comment. It says, "Love it. Do it regularly. Would love it more European friendly though." So that's a logistics issue,
really
right?
late.
It's
Yeah.
trying to appeal
Micah.
to, because we're all U.S. based. So
Sorry,
we kind
Micah.
of sorry.
It just,
I don't know what time it is in Europe, anywhere in
Germany,
Europe,
I believe.
but yeah, we'd have to kind of look at that.
We struggled enough between the 3 of us, King Tide Corals, me.
That was me. I struggled with that really badly.
Yeah, we're all Pacific time, and poor Brandon is in Florida.
it's bedtime
on East Coast. Yeah, so we're making him stay up late already. If we can find a better time, you know, we'd be all up for it. But yeah, we'll have to see. But we absolutely appreciate you guys over there in the EU, or
yeah.
Or if you're in Britain.
Cheers to the European reefers. They always get snubbed. They don't get to do the giveaway.
They don't get nothing. They
get
always
nothing.
Get snubbed.
Now wait a minute. I include them in the giveaways. It cost me an arm and a leg when they win, so I secretly hope they don't. But if you do, you'll get your thing, so don't worry.
Our next live stream will be 2 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, 5 a.m.
We'll do a raid.
and 12 p.m. Europe Standard Time.
Oh, man. Could you imagine us at 2 a.m.? We barely got this going now.
That's usually when I do my water changes because my dog's asleep, so I'm already awake. I'm good. I'm not going to talk. You'll just see me in the background doing tank maintenance, but I'll be on here.
I actually saw a question.
Yeah.
And I think it was directed towards me. Big G Reef. Will you ever switch to LEDs, or is he a T5 lifer? It's a tough question. So I don't think I would ever fully switch. However, I am certainly open to a hybrid approach. And I think Yeah, I mean, I think they fill the tank in a way that the other lights
Just
don't, in my opinion.
loyalty. That's all it
Yeah.
is.
So I think the one thing that just recently caught my eye, and I need to wait and see kind of how they do in actuality. Is the new Kessel A500X lights. Those look like they've got the shimmer that I would really want in a tank. And then
Talk to 7 feet of Reef.
Oh, I know. I saw he had them. They look pretty amazing, and they kind of look like that halide look, which I never actually had the opportunity to use, but I know there's been some really amazing tanks with that. So I'd consider combining the two together.
So
I think you should just get halides. That's my opinion.
Here's one little thing. I saw someone just said, would you start a YouTube channel? I don't know if that was directed to someone specifically, but Blaine over there at King Tide Corals actually does have a YouTube channel where our plan is, again, if we continue to do these, if people continue to show up and enjoy it, he will be recording them, putting them up. It may be more like podcast style, where it's just the thumbprint of us listening to our incredibly sensual voices, doing the voiceover. But yeah, hop over to King Tide Corals on YouTube, where we'll hopefully have this one up. So
yeah, so I was kind of thinking, if we get really good feedback, I've kind of seen a really great growth in like the podcast world, and I think the podcast world is a really great opportunity for people to invite people in, and it's like like we've talked about here, like the 4 horsemen, right? We just kind of get a banter back and forth about all kinds of different things reef, and I love this. Every tank's different, and every tank will always be different because it's a different system, and so we can kind of shoot it back and forth between all 4 of us. And honestly, I see that. I'm sorry, Glenn. I somehow sneaked into an all-star group, right? So it's like the fan vote went through on NBA All-Star weekend, and I got put in somehow. And so that's how that worked.
Don't engage Glenn, all right? I say a week tops. If it's not back to normal and 3 times the size.
I'd like to give up my spot so that Glenn will be on the next one.
I mean, and that's something else that's cool. If we can figure out Clubhouse, we can bring in more people, and it'd be really fun. And I'm going to try to post them on my YouTube channel. You guys can check it out. It linked on my bio, but I'm going to try to, record these and then put them on a thumbnail, and then we'll get them out to you guys so you guys can kind of listen in if you guys miss out, or if you guys are in Germany or Switzerland or, I don't know, Yugoslavia, wherever the heck, wherever the heck you are. And you want
if you're in Chernobyl and you want to catch this live stream next week.
Exactly. If you are going in Chernobyl and you're hanging out with your reef tank and you want to listen to this, we can give it to you on YouTube at a better time to your convenience. But
yeah,
we'll see.
And if this, again, if people like this and we keep doing it, I mean, we'll absolutely figure out some way to get other people in. I mean, there's so many people I'd love to have, and I mean, a lot of them are in the channel now. Again, Glenn Reef, I would love to have him in.
Glenn would be great to have.
Photography.
I want to talk about bird photos. That's what I want to talk about. I don't want to talk about his tank. I want to talk about those awesome iris shots is what I want to talk about.
The bird photo boys.
Yes.
Yeah, so if that means that, if that means like throughout the videos we swap someone out, I mean, totally.
If we kick them off the island
as well. What's that?
If we kick them off the island.
Yeah, we get Jeff ropes and we snuff them.
Well, we'll have Brandon give people a rose, and whoever doesn't get one is out, and we bring in Tiger Boy. All right. Well, like I said, we plan on doing this for an hour. Got a couple more minutes. If there are any other questions or
I did see another one.
Give us something challenging.
Challenge me.
I saw carbon dosing.
Mm.
Do you guys carbon dose? If so, how? Biopellets, vodka.
I carbon dose myself.
Yeah. There
Yes.
we go. Now we're
That's
talking.
it. That helps
Carbon
keeping a
dosage
reef
of
for
this-
sure.
That does. The pain, the sorrows.
Yeah.
Right. I think carbon dosing is kind of like playing with fire a little bit there.
100%.
Yeah. I mean,
There's a very thin line.
yeah. I mean,
It can
if
be great.
you meticulous about it and you really watch, your nutrients every day. And I'm the first one to tell you, I like low nutrients. The lower you can get them, the better for me. But that is one thing that can really send that into overdrive and either strip the tank down, or even worse, you do it at the wrong time of day, you suck out all the oxygen, and then you wake up to, a tank full of dead animals. So that's really like,
And then you have to wait
fire.
4 weeks for them to recover. It's bullshit. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Only if you're an amateur.
Yeah.
1 week tops.
Yeah.
So
No,
they're not talking about carbon. They're talking about like carbon dosing.
like vodka.
Right.
Yeah.
Thank you. I was
Run
just going to point
carbon.
that out too. Yeah. Run carbon.
Run carbon, run UV. It's good for everybody.
Carbon dosing is where you start playing with fire, and I am terrible at juggling, so I don't need to do it. Right. So there's like, I think it's you like you said, it's you get to a point where you're in your reefing career and you're like, I can take the next step and do this, and maybe it can amp my tank up if you're not getting the success that you want, but if you don't have, like you said, the meticulous time to be able to get it all right, then it's just it's a risk that is so far beyond what is worth then getting extra inch of growth or something like that.
Yeah, let's see. Johnny Upsetter, I do want to answer this one because I've done this. Brandon, cover your ears. It says, anyone dose PO4 to keep nutrients up in a nano or strictly fish load / feeding? So I have had to dose... I'm not endorsing these products. I just happen to use them, and they work just fine. I have the Fish Hex PO4 and the Neo Nitro.
Yeah.
I have to feed a ton and even supplement with dosing to keep my nitrates and phosphates where my corals are happy. I have tried the fish approach, as you have seen. I just have so many hungry polyps, hungry corals, photosynthesizing in my tank that they just consume everything at such a high rate. I don't dose the same amount every day. I dose when needed. I test nutrients, probably every other day. I'm a huge tester, so I kind of do it as needed. I know what parameters work for my tank that I like to keep them at, so that has worked. Every tank is different, though. Again, if you can do it naturally just by increased feeding and you're feeding good products, you could try some additional fish as long as you really pay attention to the aggressiveness and all the requirements for them. You can try it that route, or if your tank needs higher nutrients, I say go ahead and dose them, but whatever works for you. It's worked for me.
I will say, so for me, I dose for my macroalgae tank. My macroalgae tank requires a lot of dosing. I've seen a bunch of, live streams and talks and just the chat that I'm in. There's a lot of talk about, the need for dosing. And so for my macroalgae system, I dose a lot of the Brightwell stuff, Neo Nitro, Kato Grow, stuff like that. And it works great for my tank, but for my lagoon, my coral tank, my reef, I'm not dosing anything like that. I just have fish that are producing that waste. They do a great job at making a mess of the tank, just like your leopard wrasse does for yours. They do a good job.
That's the number one reason in my new tank why I'm going to have fish that are too large and I'll have to swap them out is because I don't think there's a better coral food than fish waste.
Absolutely.
And I've dosed nitrates. I've done it with sodium nitrates. I've done it with the Neo Nitro. I've dosed phosphates. I've dosed all those things, and they've worked to elevate the levels, but I've never seen as good of a response as when I just fed the little shit out of my fish,
It's crazy, right? The natural way of doing it, it worked out so well. Obviously, right, there's a level to it, right? You have an X amount of space, volume-wise and fish-wise, but you can, like you said, you can push that boundary with a smaller yellow tank, and that will produce more waste in essence, which will, benefit your system in the long run.
So I like using the Brightwell products to get to my target level and then feeding the fish to maintain it. So, cause it's more natural. So it's kind of like a hybrid approach, I guess.
Yeah, for sure.
But yeah, every product on the market, whether it's aminos, and I use Brightwell aminos religiously.
I know we're shouting out Brightwell big time.
Brightwell makes good stuff.
We'll take stickers. We'll take a t-shirt.
I'll take more aminos.
Take a hat too.
I feed the KZ flatworm stop. I don't have flatworms, thank God, but I feel like it's helped my aquapora with their growth and their tissue and their healing. But yeah, that's my jammer. That's my secret sauce. But
I drink it myself.
Yeah, it smells horrible, but it works very well. But I don't think there's anything better than fish, the natural approach, and sometimes we have to use unnatural approaches like the supplements to get to those target levels. But once we're there, I like to maintain them naturally, and that's my approach.
Yeah, for sure.
Tangs in every nano.
The low nutrient guy pipe in?
No, shut
up. Let me just give you my rundown here real quick, just so everybody can get the whole balanced approach thing here. So obviously I'm going to be the first one to tell everybody that every tank is different, and by no means do you have to take, my methods and my suggestions, but I offer them up. So nitrate and phosphate to me can act as kind of a buffer for your corals. I don't think they're necessary. I see a lot of people on the forums calling them a food for the coral, and they're not a food. So it's kind of it is a buffer because of the algae that are within the coral. But I also agree fish poop is the way to go. So for my tank in particular, my feeding regiment's pretty heavy. So I have an auto feeder on there, and that runs 4 times a day, 2 spins each time. And then I feed a mix of like 7 different frozen foods at night. And then I also culture live brine to feed my tank as well. So they get fed, a solid 5-6 times a day. And I think it's more about the throughput is where it really comes down to it. So, you spread that feeding out throughout the day. It doesn't have to be a load of food every single time, but enough so that there's constantly waste coming out of the fish, and enough for your filtration to keep up with it. But like everybody else is really stressed, every tank finds its own balance in a different place. So I think it's about figuring out what works for your tank. And then just because I say low nutrients is good, don't go and strip away all your nutrients. But if your tank works with low nutrients, don't have somebody tell you, oh, you got to get your nitrate and phosphate up, dump these, things in there. Right. So it's all about, knowing what works for your system.
Right. Look at your tank. Is it happy? Does it look happy?
Yeah, exactly.
Is it speaking to you? It's just like a garden. I always look at it much like a garden. You're like, is it speaking to you? Is it happy? Does it show good growth? And if it shows those things, then it's like, why do you, why fix
Don't change it.
Not broken? Bingo. Exactly. So there's no reason to change it. But I think that's a great way to, go and start chasing after a solution is when you see things are wrong.
Yeah, so this is the last thing that we'll just kind of talk about before I think ending this for the night. But I do want to talk about that one, what Lennon just had said. My fish are in quarantine due to ick, and my reef is running fallow, and the corals are not happy. So I think that is a special circumstance where, adding increased supplements, maybe even dosing nitrates and phosphates, increased aminos, increased coral foods to make up for the lack of, the ammonia and the fish waste that you're not getting. That's how I would personally do it. I would still try and get as close to the numbers as I had with the fish without, just to kind of maintain that stability for the corals. Those are my thoughts. Anyone else have anything before we
I want to go back to what Brandon said, because that's my number one piece of advice is know your corals and read them, because they'll tell you if they're happy and if they're not. And you'll start to attribute that to patterns, and you'll be like, okay, well, when my nitrates, I agree with Brandon. Nitrates is not a coral food. It's kind of like a supplement, because we're in a captive environment. We're not in the ocean, so we can't give them the amount of food that they would get in the wild. But your coral will tell you if they're happy or they're not happy. So read your coral, learn your coral, and then start to correlate your behaviors, or not your behaviors, but your maintenance and your maintenance, the things that you do with your tank, with how your corals respond to it. When you do this thing, your corals respond positively. Keep doing that thing. If you do this thing and your corals respond negatively, don't do that thing.
Stop doing it.
Read your corals. Your tank will tell you what it wants, what it likes, what it doesn't. And it's kind of like, it's hard to explain that to somebody who's new to the hobby. But it's the truth. It's like stability is key. You can have 1.028 or 1.030 salinity, and you can have 5.9 alk. I know, because my alk has been below 7 for 2 or 3 years. It's not optimal, but the coral are fine with it. When I do different things and they respond negatively, that's the sign to say, don't do that thing. Just because it works for somebody else doesn't mean it'll work for you. Every tank is different. Learn your corals, read your corals. They will tell you what they want.
Yeah, I mean, if we could just hammer in one thing, it's absolutely that. And I think this is like the best advice that we could probably all give to any new hobbyist, really, is, asking, going on the internet, going on forums, going on Facebook, can be a really dangerous place as a new person. Like, yeah, you'll get information, but you will see so much contradicting information. And that's because truly, we're all going to sound like a broken record. Every tank is so different. What I do with my tank these days is absolutely nothing like what I did with my tank in the first year and a half. as they've said, I've looked at my tank. I know what it likes. I know what I have to do. My tank handles bioloads. It handles the nutrients way different than it does in the beginning. Best advice, honestly, find a reefing mentor and stick to one person's advice. I know that's something I've heard many, many people say who have amazing reef tanks. I think it's the best advice out there. If you find someone with an awesome tank, really sit down and chat with them. Like, what did they do in the early stages? What worked for them? Take advice from one source as opposed to many. If they've got a great tank, then obviously what they're doing has been successful, and I think that will help people a lot, as opposed to asking someone, well, what do you run your nutrients at, getting a number, and now changing your tank to be the same, because your tank is not the same. So, yeah. All right. So there's, a lot of other questions. I apologize if we didn't get to them. Like I said, please message any of us, more specifically Brandon. Any questions that you didn't get to? I'm just kidding. Message any of us. Thank you all so much for showing up. This was a lot of fun.
Appreciate it. Thanks, guys.
Those of you in Europe, especially, where did you go? The small reef. I applaud two things here. One, you staying up to hang out with us, and two, doing a water change at like 2 a.m. in the morning.
That's the best time to do a water change.
Cheers.
And hey, for the record, I will say before I go, water changes heal all. I feel like, and I'm not judging anybody. I'm totally judging all of you. But everybody spends so much money to get away from water changes, but it's the cheapest, simplest way to fix any problems. It's like the equalizer. Right. So do your water changes, listen to your corals, question everything you read. I mean, read, but question it. If somebody says, do this because of this, why? You understand why somebody is doing or saying something, but always do your water changes. If you can't figure it out, just do a water change. It'll surprise you.
Yep.
All right,
so
guys.
If you guys aren't following all of us already, it's Reef Club Design, it's Florida Reef Keeper, it's Northwest Nano, and it's King Tide Corals. So all of us here, appreciate all you guys coming out. It was really fun. It was a good time.
Yeah, and like we said earlier, just for anyone who wasn't able to make it, we're going to force Blaine to put this up on YouTube. If you enjoyed it or know someone that couldn't make it, direct them to that page, or send them the video link, and hopefully they can join us next time. If we do more of these, and I really think we will, again, even if it's just the four of us talking like idiots, we'll give you guys far notice in advance, at least a week before, so you can all join us again. Thank you guys so much.
Thank you,
guys.
Thank
you, everybody.
Thank Ryan, thank Blaine, thank Brandon. Thank you guys for doing this. It was a lot of fun. Thank everybody for watching. One of the greatest things about the hobby is the community, so thank you.
For sure. Yeah, appreciate it, guys.
Absolutely.
We'll see you next time.
All right, see you guys.
We'll see you guys.
Bye.
Bye.
Happy reefing.